had spent 3 wonderful days in San Francisco, but now it's time to turn our attention to the rest of Northern California. We plan to drive up the coast to Crescent City, about as far north in California as you can get. A 365-mile drive, or a little over 6 hours. But we had a lot to see, so we planned on taking several days. It's early in the morning and we're crossing the Golden Gate Bridge. We had a couple of really great days in the city by the bay, but now we're ready to head for the Northern California coast. After crossing the bridge, there's the North Side Vista Point. It offers a really unique view of the bridge, plus there's always plenty of parking there. The first stop on our Northern California trip is in the town of Bodega to see this old schoolhouse. Now I know what you're saying, an old schoolhouse? How delightfully boring. Well, you'd think different if you knew that this schoolhouse was the one used by Alfred Hitchcock in his 1963 movie, The Birds. Hi, we're at the town of Bodega where Alfred Hitchcock filmed his movie, The Birds, with his schoolhouse right over here. Beautiful day, everything is nice, but something just isn't gelling right. I don't know what it is. I got my underwear on right, but wait a second. Holy shit! I knew I had to act, and I had to act fast. Hello, is this a schoolhouse? Yeah, listen, this is Mark Erickson, and you're about ready to get hit by a shitstorm of killer birds. Now, what I want you to do is throw logic out the window. Leave the safety of your schoolhouse, come outside, and walk down the mile to the town. Yeah, I know you're going to be exposed to killer birds, but I think if you walk in a safe, quiet, and slow manner, everything will be okay. Well, no, I'm not an ornithologist, but I did sleep in a Holiday Inn last night. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Everybody remain calm and quiet. Walk, please, no running. Remain calm, please, remain calm. I said remain calm, damn it! Quit running, Susie, or you'll trip and fall. I'll have to admit that my instructions to the school didn't quite work out as I planned. Maybe if they'd only walked and been quiet and orderly.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Anyway, so we headed up Scenic Highway 1 to our next destination, the Point Arena Lighthouse. Located a few miles north of the town of Point Arena on a rocky shoreline, the lighthouse stands 115 feet tall and began operating in September 1908. For a price, you can go on a tour of the lighthouse. Here's a close-up look of the lighthouse. Later that day, we drove into the city of Fort Bragg, found a motel, made a stop at Cowlick's handmade ice cream, and then hit the hay. The next morning, we had breakfast in Fort Bragg at a place called Egghead's Restaurant. I was looking forward to eating here because I had read it had a Wizard of Oz theme to it. I was torn between Annie M's griddle cakes or the flying monkey potatoes. I never did find the yellow brick road on my map, but we did go through this really cool tunnel of trees outside of Fort Bragg. Once we hit the town of Leggett, we just knew we had to see the famous drive-through tree. Here's a little information on the tree. And this is what it looks like driving through the tree. I forget the measurements, but we were driving a small Hyundai Accent and it just barely squeaked through. Here's a shot of a car in the tree, and here's a shot of us at the tree. Alright, we're on vacation at the Chandler drive-thru tree, having a good time. A little farther on, in the town of Garberville, you can see the one log house, a house made out of one redwood tree. For a fee, you can even go inside the house and take a look around. Also in Garberville is the Legend of Bigfoot, a Bigfoot-themed souvenir store. Lots and lots of wood carvings to look at and buy, plus, of course, a giant wood carving of Bigfoot himself. Keep on driving and you'll get to the famous Avenue of the Giants. This place is amazing, but you don't want to zip through it on Highway 1. Get off on one of the exits and take your time driving through it. The sight of all the redwoods towering above the narrow road is unbelievable. You can thank me later. Plenty of turnouts to enjoy the scenery. Plenty of trails too. We decided to go on the Founders Grove Trail. Short and sweet. On the trail now, look closely, you can see a couple of people there by that tree in the center. That'll give you the idea of the size of these things. In the Avenue of the Giants, we're on the Founders Grove Trail. Naturally, if you're on the Founders Grove Trail, there's going to be a Founders Tree. Here's the measurements of this monster. That's the Founders Tree behind us. And here we are, next to one of the fallen giants. It was here in the Avenue of the Giants where we first started seeing these kind of signs. Don't you worry, I'm not even going to roll down the damn window. Keep driving north and make sure you take the exit for the town of Ferndale. If you're fond of Victorian architecture, you're going to like this place. If you plan on staying for the night, you might want to check out the Gingerbread Mansion Bed and Breakfast. Downtown Ferndale's Main Street is just one example after another of Victorian architecture. Here's a closer look at the detailed work on that one building. While you're there, make sure you stop by to see the Victorian Inn. Whether you stay there or not, it is really something to see. Very close to Ferndale is the town of Eureka, where there are a couple of outstanding examples of Victorian architecture. This is the Carson Mansion, built in 1886 by William Carson. The mansion is one of the most notable examples of Victorian architecture in the United States. There are 18 rooms in the mansion and is now a private club owned by the Ingomar Club. Across the street is the Carson House, also known as the Pink Lady. Constructed in 1889, it too was built by the same William Carson and was constructed as a wedding gift for his son. From there, we drove a few miles farther north to the city of Arcata, found a motel, and settled in for the night. The next morning, we woke up to some coastal rain. We headed over to Tony's, that's spelled with an I, 24-hour restaurant for some great service and a hearty breakfast. After about a 35-minute drive, we entered our next destination, which happened to be in the town of Orick. Once in town, we took a left on Davidson Drive and headed down to the Gold Bluffs Beach Fern Canyon parking. It's about a 7-mile drive down a 1-lane dirt road. But don't worry, our little car handled it easily. Also, if you plan to hike Fern Canyon between May 1st and September 30th, you're going to have to apply online for a permit. It's not that many miles to the trailhead, but it took us a lot longer than what we expected, like taking the time to stop and see the dense forest growth in the area. Also, there was the occasional roadblock. A herd of Roosevelt elk was at the side of the road. They are found in this area, but this was totally unexpected. As you can see, I stayed inside the car to get these pictures. No way I was leaving the car with Bambi on steroids out there. Finally, we got down to the parking lot and found the sign pointing towards the direction of our trail. There was another sign at the trailhead too. I thank my lucky stars that I'd had sense enough to stay in the car and take pictures of the elk from there. finally, we start walking up Fern Canyon. There are a lot of little stream crossings like this. I suggest either wearing hiking boots or old tennis shoes that you don't mind getting wet. You basically follow the stream bed and kind of zigzag back and forth along the trail. Hi, we're going up Fern Canyon right now. Beautiful country. This is a look up the trail where we're headed. We've been hiking through Fern Canyon for a while and having a really good time. It is so nice, so peaceful, so lush, and so prehistoric looking. I can see why they filmed parts of Jurassic Park 2 here. It is, you almost expect to see a dinosaur come walking around the corner. Wait a second, what was that sound? Sweet baby Jesus playing on the railroad tracks. Shit, was that me screaming like a little girl? After that, we put the pedal to the metal, as they say, trying to make good time. We continued heading north and stumbled upon this, just outside the town of Klamath, the Trees of Mystery. You can't miss it, because outside is this giant Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. No, don't worry. They're not real. They're wood carving. For a price, you can go inside and see different sizes, including some pretty freakish looking trees. But the weather wasn't cooperating, so we continued up the road. In about a half hour, we came to Crescent City and headed straight for the Jedediah Smith Redwood State Park. This was another real find. Just as good, if not better, than the Avenue of the Giants. Plenty of trails to walk on, and just driving down the roads was a real special treat. Here's one of the many pullouts that we stopped at, looking up on these giant trees. Taking a selfie in front of one of these giants. Looking down the road. After driving through the redwoods, we drove over to look at the Crescent City coast. And finally, before calling it a day, we stopped on the coast to take a look at the Battery Point Lighthouse. At low tide, you can actually walk over to the lighthouse and for a fee, take a tour of it. That's it for this video. Next up, we head partway up the Oregon coast.